Welcome to AlcoAlert Interlock. This brief video will demonstrate how to use the breath alcohol ignition interlock device that will be installed in your vehicle, as well as give you additional information and important precautions for using the device. Please pay close attention throughout the entire video and remember to ask your installer any questions you may have after watching this video and prior to using the device. You may be held liable for additional fees and/or other penalties associated with not using the device properly, so please pay attention. The ignition interlock device will only allow you to operate your vehicle when you have not been drinking, and you should not attempt to operate the device or your vehicle after consuming any amount of alcohol. Doing so may result in additional fees and/or other penalties associated with misusing the device, as determined by your monitoring authority. The device uses an alcohol-specific fuel cell sensor and employs additional sensor technology to ensure the breath sample is provided from a human source. It cannot be fooled with balloons or other air-blowing devices. Attempts to do so may cause you to realize additional wait times using the device, and may lead to violation lockout and additional fees and/or possible other penalties, including the potential for additional ramifications with your monitoring authority. The person operating the vehicle should always be the person breathing into the device. Having someone other than the vehicle operator breathe into the device for any reason is a violation of law, which could lead to your arrest and prosecution for a crime. Do not attempt to circumvent the breath tests required by the device at any time. Simplicity is the key to using your ignition interlock device. There is only one component visible in your vehicle, which is the handset alcohol sampler with built-in LED indicator lights and digital display that is connected to a control box installed in your vehicle. Your vehicle will not start until the ignition interlock device determines that your breath alcohol level is less than the maximum limit allowed by your state or specific monitoring authority. Remember, do not attempt to operate the device or your vehicle after consuming any amount of alcohol. Depending on the requirements of your state, there is one of two methods that you will use to take a test. One is the standard method, by which you simply exhale into the mouthpiece until the device accepts your test. The other is an exhale, inhale, exhale method, which is similar to breathing and requires you to exhale into the mouthpiece, followed by inhaling through the mouthpiece, and finally exhaling into the mouthpiece again until the device accepts your test. Both methods are accompanied by an electronic breath tone to assist you. Your service center technician will explain which method you will be required to use and demonstrate the test procedure so you are comfortable using the device. To take a test, insert the key in the vehicle's ignition and turn it to the on or run position, which will activate the device to prepare to accept your breath sample. Do not turn the ignition key off or disconnect the handset sampler if you intend to take a test. If you do not wish to test after turning the key to the on or run position, the device will time out in approximately 2 minutes after the key is turned to the off position. In extremely cold temperatures, the device may need additional time to prepare to accept your breath test in order to return a valid test result. Please keep this in mind when traveling in colder climates. Likewise, remember to keep the device out of direct sunlight when traveling in warmer climates. The upper left-hand LED indicator light around the device display is the 12-volt power indicator light. This light corresponds to a light on the front of the device control box and will illuminate green if the device is receiving power in excess of approximately 12 volts, red if the device is receiving approximately 10.5 to 12 volts, and it will be flashing red if the device is receiving less than approximately 10.5 volts, which may or may not be enough voltage for your vehicle's ignition system to start your vehicle. If the device's power indicator light is flashing red and your vehicle will not start after passing a test, have your vehicle's battery, charging, and/or ignition system checked by a qualified automotive repair technician. It is important to pay attention to the information shown on the display screen and only breathe into the device when it is ready for you to do so. Once activated, the device will beep several times and progress through a series of informational display screens, including when your device is due for service. Keep this date in mind and make an appointment with your service center no more than 7 days prior to this date. All service is by appointment only. When ready for your test, the device will beep twice and the display will indicate test required. Please provide breath sample. At which time you will need to provide a breath sample into the device of sufficient pressure and volume. The device is intended to require a deep lung sample, so you will need to take a deep breath prior to blowing into the device. The device functions best with the display screen facing to the side or upward as shown, being careful not to obstruct the air vent on the back of the handset sampler and restricting airflow. Position the handset sampler directly in front of your face and begin breathing lightly into the mouthpiece. Progressively increase the pressure until the electronic tone begins to sound, indicating the device is receiving the minimum amount of pressure required to activate the device and the device is recognizing your breath sample. If you breathe too softly, the electronic tone will not sound. The device will not recognize your breath sample and will fail to respond. When using the standard method, continue breathing at the minimum required pressure until the device's internal air sampling pump clicks, drawing a sample of your breath for analysis, and the electronic tone stops. When using the exhale, inhale, exhale method, the electronic tone will sound when you begin breathing into the device with sufficient pressure. The tone will stop when it is time to inhale through the mouthpiece. Following the inhalation component of the test, the device will beep 3 times, indicating it is time to provide the final exhale breath into the device. Complete this test method like you are breathing into, out of, and into the mouthpiece. When the device accepts your breath sample, the display will read "Measuring sample" prior to returning the alcohol concentration of your breath sample and allowing your vehicle to start or not based on the result returned. If you breathe too hard, the device display will indicate test error, high pressure, please blow softer. If you do not maintain the minimum required pressure for the length of the time required by the device, the display will indicate test error, low volume, please blow longer. In either case, the device will ask you to retest immediately after the test error. Please follow the instructions on the display screen carefully and do not turn the ignition key off if you intend to complete the test. If you are unable to provide an adequate sample at the pressure required by the device, the minimum allowable pressure may be adjusted by your service center, but the minimum volume requirement still must be met. Keep in mind that the device is intended to take a deep lung sample, and your lungs should be nearly exhausted at the time the device samples your breath. There is a trade-off between pressure and volume when it comes to your lung capacity. Work with your installer to find a comfortable pressure setting that allows you to complete the test while complying with the law's requirements. Once accepted and analyzed, there are 3 possible results to your test: pass, fail, or invalid sample. You have passed the test if the upper right-hand LED indicator light around the display illuminates green, and the display reads "Test Passed," along with your breath alcohol content where allowed. At this time, you may hear a faint click from the control box, after which you will have a period of time that the device will allow you to start your vehicle after the passed test is complete. You have failed the test if the same light turns red and the display reads "Test Failed," along with your breath alcohol content where allowed. Your vehicle will not start after a failed test, and you may be required to wait an additional amount of time prior to retesting, depending on the breath alcohol level recorded by the device and the requirements of your monitoring authority. Depending on the level recorded, failed tests may be cause for violation lockout and require an additional visit to your service center to report the violation, reset the device, and pay additional fees in addition to the possibility for other penalties as determined by your monitoring authority. The device employs additional advanced anti-circumvention sensor technology that measures the temperature of the breath sample provided into the device, as well as the presence of a human source in front of the mouthpiece. If either or both of these criteria are not met, the device will return test error, invalid sample as the test result, along with an error code shown on the 3rd line of the display. If invalid sample is recorded, you will need to attempt the test again and take actions to correct the error recorded by the device. Please follow the instructions on the display screen carefully. Avoid direct sunlight interfering with the device sensors or any objects being placed between the handset sampler and your face. In cold temperatures, take care to ensure the mouthpiece is warmed prior to use, and any moisture trapped by the mouthpiece is not allowed to freeze, especially overnight. You may want to take the mouthpiece inside to accomplish this goal. The anti-circumvention sensors are used to ensure that you are using the device properly, so excessive invalid sample test results may require you to wait an additional amount of time prior to retesting. Too many invalid sample test results recorded by the device during your service interval may also be cause for violation lockout and require an additional visit to your service center to report the violation, reset the device, and pay additional fees. Not using the device properly and/or attempting to tamper with or circumvent the device may be a violation of law in your state and may result in other penalties as determined by your monitoring authority. Test results are recorded in the device's internal data log immediately after each test is complete and are stored for future monitoring purposes. Any attempt to bypass the device and not take the required test will be recorded and may be cause for violation lockout, requiring an additional visit to your service center to report the violation, reset the device, and pay additional fees in addition to the possibility for other penalties as determined by your monitoring authority. The mouthpiece used with the Ignition Interlock device is designed to serve as a moisture trap. Excessive moisture entering the device may cause adverse results in terms of the device's proper functioning and may damage the device and prevent you from starting your vehicle. You should monitor the amount of moisture that accumulates in the mouthpiece to minimize entry into the device. The mouthpiece may be washed with mild liquid detergent and then thoroughly rinsed with warm water. Before use, make sure the mouthpiece is completely dry. Your service center will supply you with 2 mouthpieces at the time of installation. If needed, you may purchase additional mouthpieces from any service center that installs or monitors your device or directly from our corporate office. The Ignition Interlock device is very accurate. However, mouthwash, breath sprays, hand sanitizers, cold or cough medicines, and any other products containing any form of alcohol may cause a positive test result. Wait 10 to 15 minutes after using these products prior to testing to ensure an accurate test result. Remember, regardless of the source of any alcohol detected by the device, you are responsible and may be held accountable for all test results recorded by the device installed in your vehicle. A person should not be smoking while taking a test, as this will affect your ability to provide an adequate breath sample. This is especially important when called on to take a random rolling retest, which will be required on a random or pre-programmed basis throughout operation of the vehicle, depending on the requirements of your monitoring authority. When a random rolling retest is required, the lights around the display will flash and the device will emit a repetitive beeping tone, which will increase in frequency as the time allowed to complete the retest expires. The device display will read, "Test required, rolling retest," along with the time remaining to complete the test, where allowed. If you are smoking, extinguish the cigarette and clear your lungs thoroughly of any smoke prior to testing. Take a deep breath and provide a breath sample into the device within the time allowed. If you find the repetitive beeping tone to be a distraction while completing the rolling retest, you may press the middle button on the handset sampler to silence the beeping tone and to better hear the pressure-sensitive electronic tone, and complete the retest within the time allowed. The consequences of failing a random rolling retest, failing to complete the retest within the time allowed, or turning your vehicle's ignition off during a retest will cause the device to begin a violation lockout countdown, according to the requirements of your monitoring authority. This will require an additional visit to your service center within the time allowed to report the violation, reset the device, and pay additional fees in addition to the possibility for other penalties as determined by your monitoring authority. Successive failed or refused rolling retests may have specific additional ramifications, including but not limited to termination of legal driving privileges and/or issuance of an arrest warrant. In addition to the potential for a violation lockout countdown, multiple violations recorded on the device in a row, including failed start test attempts, failed or refused random rolling retests, or invalid sample recordings during a start test or rolling retest attempts, may cause you to have to wait an additional amount of time prior to testing the next time you attempt to start your vehicle. If this occurs, the device will indicate limit exceeded, accompanied by the amount of time you are required to wait prior to the device allowing retesting. Once the timer expires, you will be allowed to retest. Let's review the test procedure. Insert the key in the vehicle's ignition and turn it to the on or run position, which will activate the device to prepare to accept your breath sample. Do not turn the ignition key off or disconnect the handset sampler if you intend to take a test. Once the device is ready for your test, it will beep twice and the display will indicate test required. Please provide breath sample, at which time you will need to provide a breath sample into the device of sufficient pressure and volume. Please follow the instructions on the display screen carefully, and do not attempt to breathe into the device until the display indicates to do so. For best results, position the handset sampler directly in front of your face with the display screen facing to the side or upward as shown. When using the standard method, breathe firmly into the mouthpiece at a consistent pressure, while ensuring the electronic tone is sounding throughout the test and the device is recognizing your breath sample. When using the exhale, inhale, exhale method, alternate breathing into, out of, then into the mouthpiece in concert with the electronic tone and corresponding beat tones provided by the device, while minding the device's minimum breath sample requirements. Once an adequate sample is received by the device, the electronic tone will stop. The internal air sampling pump will click in the handset sampler, and the device will indicate measuring sample prior to returning your breath alcohol level where allowed. The green light on the upper right-hand side of the display, along with test passed shown in the display, means you are clear to drive. If this light is red and the display indicates test failed, you are not okay to drive and will have to wait until your system is clear of alcohol and you're able to pass the test. This simple test allows you to maintain complete freedom while ensuring that you won't change your mind about getting behind the wheel after you've been drinking. Remember, do not attempt to operate the device or your vehicle after consuming any amount of alcohol. About every half hour or less, the ignition interlock device will require the driver to take a random rolling retest. Depending on the requirements of your monitoring authority, these rolling retests will be required by the device anywhere from 3 to 30 minutes after you've taken the initial start test and started the vehicle, or longer in some jurisdictions. Rolling retests will continue to be required by the device on a pre-programmed or random basis within the same interval throughout operation of the vehicle. When the device is requesting a random rolling retest, you will hear a distinct and repetitive beeping tone, and the lights around the display will flash, indicating you must complete the rolling retest. You are allowed a limited amount of time to complete this test, depending on the requirements of your monitoring authority. Remember, it is very important to not leave the vehicle running unattended for any reason, so you do not miss the device calling for a rolling retest. You can complete the random rolling retest at any time when the display indicates test required rolling retest by providing a breath sample into the device that meets the minimum pressure and volume requirements, using either the standard or exhale, inhale, exhale method as programmed on your device. The test can be completed while the vehicle is stopped or in motion. If you find the repetitive beeping during the rolling retest to be a distraction when completing the test, you may press the middle button on the handset sampler to silence the beeping tone in order to distinguish the pressure-sensitive electronic tone to complete the retest within the time allowed. Similar to the startup test, when the device has received an adequate sample, the internal air sampling pump will click in the handset sampler, the electronic tone will stop, and the device will indicate measuring sample prior to returning your breath alcohol level where allowed. The green light on the upper right-hand side of the display and test passed being shown on the display means you are clear to continue driving. If this light is red and the display indicates test failed, you are not okay to drive, and the device will prompt a subsequent retest within a short time. Remember, all test activity is recorded by the device, and in order to avoid recording successive failed or refused random rolling retest, you are advised to exit the roadway and park your vehicle in a safe location until you can pass the test. There may be additional ramifications in your state for failing or refusing multiple random rolling retests in a row. You should always wait until your system is clear of alcohol and you're able to pass a test to start your vehicle. Please do not drink and drive. If you fail to complete the rolling retest within the time allowed, your car will still be operable, so you do not have to worry about getting stuck on train tracks or some other dangerous situation. However, in certain jurisdictions, your vehicle's hazard lights or headlights will flash and/or the horn will sound repeatedly until you turn the ignition key off. Depending on the requirements of your monitoring authority, the device may also begin a violation lockout countdown to lock you out of your vehicle, meaning you must return to your service center within the time allowed to report the violation, reset the device, and pay additional fees in addition to the possibility for other penalties as determined by your monitoring authority. When the device is in a lockout countdown, if you fail to report to your service center within the time allowed, your vehicle will become completely inoperable, requiring mobile service, having your vehicle towed to your service center, or using a special override code to allow limited operation of your device and vehicle where allowed. You are responsible for any additional costs associated with not reporting to your service center within the time allowed by the device. The device is programmed with a series of passwords that allow limited use of the device and vehicle following expiration of the lockout countdown for transport to your service center, in addition to remote lockout reset without the need to return to your service center in some areas, and temporary bypass of the ignition interlock device for authorized automotive repair services, where not prohibited by applicable state laws. There is a fee associated with using each of the passwords. Contact your authorized service center for further instructions and information related to costs and to request a password for the device installed in your vehicle. With the exception of routine maintenance, automotive repair services necessary for your vehicle should be coordinated with your service center or our corporate office for authorization. When leaving your vehicle at an authorized automotive repair facility for service, it is very important that you inform the service personnel of the instructions on how to properly operate the device installed in your vehicle, and especially the importance of random rolling retests and not leaving the vehicle running unattended. After your authorized automotive repair service is complete, be certain you obtain a copy of the invoice showing the date and time of service and when the car was picked up by you. Remember that all events are recorded in the device's internal data log, and you are responsible for all test activity recorded by the device, including any violations recorded by any person operating your vehicle and any lockout reset fees caused by failure to operate the device properly. What happens if you need help using your ignition interlock device? You can call the number to your local service center or our corporate office, both of which are programmed into the device installed in your vehicle and listed in the paperwork provided to you during the installation. The ignition interlock device provides users with a simple means to measure and monitor drinking and driving as required pursuant to applicable state laws. If you have further questions or comments, please contact your local service center or a representative at our corporate office. We sincerely hope that you are satisfied with your experience using our ignition interlock device, and our professional account representatives and installation technicians help make your term of use as pleasurable as possible. Please feel free to contact our corporate office at any time during the term of your contract. Thank you for your attention throughout this video. If you would like to view it again to reinforce any area of concern, please request your service center operator to repeat it for you.